Search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube Live. Search Out of Bounds Sports. You can watch the webcast, the show. Good morning on a somewhat early Monday. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for making us your SEC football and sports and entertainment show of choice. In the SEC, we'll have John Cohen on in just a couple of minutes. Looking forward to that. Hail State AD. He'll join us on the Coors Light guest line. WRKS, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Thanks for tuning into the dial. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. 10-game conference schedule. Conference games only. SEC 5 home, 5 away. So you'll know who you're playing this week at some point. Maybe later in the week. And we may have that wrong. Maybe it's next week, but I would think it'll be late this week. We'll see what John Cohen has to say here the next few minutes. I like it. I'm good with it. The NFL's not checking up. I still think they're looking at September 10th. I'm not sure that they're going to deviate from the plan. It's full go. September 10th, $16 billion business. Good for the NFL. We didn't ask Home Depot to shut down or Lowe's or many, many other companies. And 16 bills. It's not just the players, man. The ancillary, ripple effect of so many people that rely on paychecks through, people who supply the hot dogs and hamburgers and soft drinks, and the list goes on and on. So NFL September 10th, college football September 26th, although the Big 12 is going August 29th as of right now.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to change.
You do?
I think everybody's going to try to match up their season to be a somewhat end and start similarly. But I also think the Big 12 is in a big hole, so to speak, because they have the least amount of teams to play a conference-only schedule. If they're going to try to fill out a 10-game schedule, they need to add a non-conference game.
Fair enough. So they can play 9.
Yep. And they could play a title game, so that'd be 10 total, but only for 2 teams.
Right.
Whereas every other conference minimum is going to play 10 games.
Huh. I wonder if we'll ever see NFL scheduling in the college football level. Like, you play
home and away.
Mississippi State and Ole Miss play twice a year, like the Saints and the Dirty Birds.
Too many teams, right? Too many. If you get down to like Power 4 and then you had some changes, maybe you could see something like that. But I don't know. There's so many teams.
See, I still think MRA and Prep should play twice a year.
Absolutely.
And Clinton and Madison Central should play twice a year. If you want to start to really bump up your booster club athletic department budget, I think that we will see NFL scheduling at some point. It'll be reluctantly, and some people will raise all kinds of you-know-what. But MRA and Prep, twice a year.
Yeah.
Clinton and Madison Central, twice a year. Brandon and Northwest Rankin, twice a year. Oak Grove and Petal, twice a year. And then Starkville and Tupelo.
Yeah.
2 times. You come here, we go there, bigger gates if we're going to try to support all the other sports that our parents somewhat demand, but definitely strongly advocate for, because not everybody just plays the big 3. And I don't know how that looks, but I think NFL scheduling could be in play for MRA Prep.
Isn't that the
Clinton,
smartest?
Madison Central. I think it'd be brilliant. I was the first one to come up with it years ago, by the way.
Well, with the MAIS, you have less teams. It makes sense with such a small group of talented MA. Like Prep and JA and MRA, they don't challenge themselves.
Playing a public school is fine, but
it doesn't have the draw.
No.
And playing
Saints Falcons gets people going. Saints Buccaneers, Cowboys Giants twice a year.
Yes. Cowboys
Redskins, Cowboys Eagles.
Absolutely.
Same thing. MRA Prep, Madison Central, Clinton, Brandon, Northwest Rankin. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local, go with the home team. They'll take care of you in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. Also visit favorites.com. You're listening to Out of Bounds. We're live on our YouTube Live channel. Search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube Live, search Out of Bounds Sports. You can watch the show. Although I don't put on any makeup, FYI. That's obvious. And but we've got a cool set and a cool studio. We want to welcome in John Cohen, Hail State AD, on the Coors Light guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. John, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Bo. How you doing this morning?
Man, we're doing great. When do you think that we'll have the schedule?
Well, there'll be several meetings this week. I'd love to think that we're going to have, the remaining two opponents on the schedule worked out sometime this week, and of course the order of our schedule as well. So we're looking forward to that. It's just, it's a very difficult task on behalf of the league, and it's not going to be perfect, and we all recognize that, and there will be a lot of discussion. But I think it's a unique opportunity for our league, and hopefully we get started on the 26th. Hopefully we won't have a ton of interruption, and we can have a unique football season. So
you'll have the 8th that were already scheduled. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And then are y'all debating or voting on a few different models that they've come up with, and then it spits it out after that?
Yeah, we have not been presented a model yet. The league has been working on this for a while, and again, it's the league does such a great job of trying to make every effort to make sure it's fair for everyone. You have to make sure that each school obviously has 5 home and 5 away, which is a little bit of a challenge as well. And, you have to fit in some off weeks as well in the middle in case we have disruption. So I think it's a real challenge for Mark Womack, who's charged with scheduling for football in our league. Mark is, has so much integrity. He works so hard at it. I don't lose a minute of sleep knowing that they're going to do what's fair and what's right. We all have to recognize it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be what everybody wants.
John Cohen on the Out of Bounds show talking football and 10-game conference schedule. They'll go with the 8th that they have, and then John and the other ADs and presidents will find out who else they play at some point, maybe later this. How about this? Do you expect for your alums and boosters to know by Friday?
I really hope so. I mean, Bo, I think that's the goal for everyone, because there's a lot of planning that goes in. Once you have the schedule, there's so much planning, and here we are, and it's just nobody's fault, but hopefully we're going to play football on September 26th and we don't know who we're playing. That's the twilight zone we're all in right now. But the key is we just want to play, and I think the kids want to play. I know our fans want us to play, and I think it's what happened last week's a very good step forward.
Yes. So do you think that the battle for the golden egg will stay on Thanksgiving, or will it be the last game or the last weekend of the season, which now, if everything lines up, is the December 5th? Or could that game be on December 3rd? What do you know about that game, if anything, right now?
Yeah, it's my understanding it would be our last game of our schedule, which would move it back to, you're right, December the 5th. I'm unaware of a Thursday night option there. What's interesting about that with our fans, of all the surveys we have done, both internally and externally, it's been a pretty even split. I mean, I think about 50% of our fans have liked the Thanksgiving Day Egg Bowl, and 50% has said, hey, how about Saturday? And there's challenges with both of them, to be honest with you, on a rivalry Saturday. But it's my understanding for now, and I don't know this 100%, but it's my understanding for now that would be the Egg Bowl would be the last game of our season. Of course, with a December 12th opportunity as a makeup date in case, play was interrupted.
Okay. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. John Cohen joining us, talking SEC football. We may know the schedule by late this week as far as the 2 other teams that will be added to for all the 14 teams in the league. And I know a lot of what I'm asking you is tentative and subject to change, but we'll just kind of go through this again. How do you feel today about tailgating in the Junction?
I I think it's really, really complicated. I think our government officials have a really difficult task, just from the standpoint you want to give everybody the freedom to do the things that they love and do the things that are part of their family tradition and a Mississippi State tradition, but you want to keep everybody healthy as well. For now, I guess my answer is I don't know. I don't know. I think that it's a very, very difficult question to ask, because before you answer that question, of course, you have to define what tailgating is. I mean, can tailgating be, actually having a pickup and having 2 or 3 or 4 family members sitting in the back of a pickup, cooking out right there? Or is it the overblown tent with 50 people underneath it? So I think this is going to be a different fall, and we're going to follow all the guidelines of our state, the guidelines of our university. And if that's the case, either way, we're going to do our very best to keep everybody protected.
Sure. So, all right, but here's what we're hearing. I'm sure you're hearing a lot too, but we're hearing from listeners that they want to, even if it's 25% max capacity, may not even be that, that they still want to go up to Starkville and Oxford and T-Town and other places and tailgate and support the local businesses, college businesses. Are you hearing that kind of feedback too?
Oh yeah. And that's the great thing about football and intercollegiate athletics, especially in the Deep South, Bo. I mean, you know that. I mean, it's just built into our heritage. It's built into the family structure. That's what people want to do. And boy, they have made that really apparent to all of us. And I completely understand that. At the same time, that's why we have government officials, is to help educate us about the risks that are out there right now. And I think, again, that decision doesn't have to be made tomorrow, but at some point it's going to have to be made, and it's going to be in the best interest of everyone, no matter what decision is made.
I would think this is, again, tentative, but do you expect to fly in and out of every game? And how would y'all manage 11 a.m. games on the road? Would that be one where your team, I mean, what's realistic? You fly out at 6 or 7 a.m. or would that be a game where you actually fly in and stay on a Friday night?
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet because obviously, as we just mentioned, we don't have a schedule yet. But certainly I think all of that is part of the discussion. To fly in the day of a game, I think it's a little problematic to fly in as normal in a traditional year where you go to the hotel on a Friday night. Can that be made safe? Sure. I think it would be a tremendous challenge, but can it be done? Yes, you're absolutely right. The early game is a challenge as well, because if you're traveling on a game day, how do you get there with immediacy? Does our league step in and mandate travel on game day, or do they sit back and let each school make that decision for themselves? Again, there's a lot to be ironed out, but certainly, Bo, the first thing that's got to be done is the schedule itself to determine, what games are going to be played at 11 o'clock, what games are not. I expect the schedule to be a little bit different, even in its sequencing and even in game times, than it's been in the past for a variety of reasons.
Okay. John Cohen, AD at Mississippi State, joining us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. You can watch it on YouTube live channel, search Out of Bounds Sports. John, I think one of the stories that should be the lead but isn't, because I guess negativity leads pretty much every morning and afternoon and night, but you, along with another 100 plus or several dozen athletic departments, welcomed back student athletes in mid-June. And so we're 7 weeks in, and it's been wildly successful. Granted, y'all have had cases, everybody's had cases, but it, from everything we gather, you know, the young people, the student athletes are okay and getting well, so to speak. I think the athletic departments have done an amazing job around the country to do everything they can to make sure that their student athletes are safe. Your thoughts?
Well, again, Bo, nothing is perfect. Nothing is foolproof. It's funny you mention this because just last night I had a team meeting, a virtual team meeting with softball and their parents. And Mary McClendon, who's one of our associate athletic directors in charge of sports medicine, has just done a phenomenal job assembling a team, coming up with a protocol, and walking parents and kids through it to make them understand exactly what we're going to do. Now, having said that, Bo, I think it's critical for everyone to understand that not only Mississippi State, we pledged to do this a long time ago, but the Southeastern Conference overall has made a pledge to all the student athletes. If they feel unsafe in a college environment or our environment, whatever, if they feel unsafe, we're going to honor their scholarship. And I think that's important to remember. I keep reading these things to where student athletes are being forced to do this or that, or semi-ridiculous statements. Nobody's being forced to do anything. And in fact, to take it one step farther, I don't ever remember any school ever forcing a student athlete to play that sport. Even coming out of high school or junior high or whatever, it's always been a voluntary activity. And now once you join that team and once you accept a scholarship, certainly there are responsibilities, just like a kid on our campus who receives an academic scholarship, to the School of Arts and Sciences, and it requires that you major in something that has to do with arts and sciences. There are always requirements attached to scholarship, but I will tell you, anything related to COVID-19 and a student athlete being uncomfortable, we're going to honor their scholarship, and that's something we're committed to doing. So, we're talking about the protocols and making our kids feel safe. One of the things that's a real challenge to us, and our environment's not perfect. There isn't one that's perfect, but the challenge is on a weekend, if our kids go back home, if our kids are hanging out with other college students, which is perfectly normal, that's the real challenge for us. We feel like the environment in which they are practicing lifting weights, locker room type areas, I think our protocol has been excellent, but again, not perfect.
I think the universities and colleges have done an amazing job since mid-June, and that should be more of the story. John Cohen, AD at Mississippi State, on the Coors Light guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I guess y'all are, the SEC and ADs and presidents are monitoring everything that's going on in pro sports too?
Oh, no question. The Major League Baseball situation is right in front of our mind. Of course, football has opened their camps. We're going to gauge all those things. More information is better. Our commissioner says that all the time. And by the way, Bo, I just want to mention, Greg Sankey's been phenomenal. I think it's just so easy for people to throw darts at him for whatever reason. He's done an incredible job. This is a guy, he literally is working probably 15 to 20 hours a day, every day, to try and figure this out. There's a lot on his shoulders, and I don't think I would want anybody else on the planet to be our commissioner but Greg Sankey. And it's just a shame that, even those, Bo, who are in leadership positions who show positive energy are being criticized for being positive,
right?
By the mainstream media. I just can't believe that's where we're at right now in our society, but so be it. This is what happens when you have a national emergency like COVID-19. So we'll keep battling. We're going to try and do things the right way. Again, I've said this 10 times already, Bo, and I apologize. It will not be perfect, but it'll be the best we can possibly do.
Sure. John Cohen on the Out of Bounds Show. We'll wrap it up with this, John. Chief Medical Officer for the NFL, Dr. Alan Sills, Starkville native, MSU alum, and Johns Hopkins alum. How cool is it that with his ties to Starkville and MSU.
Yeah, his name has just become more prevalent simply because of the COVID-19 era that we're in. What can you say? I mean, a former Bulldog who's charged with the health of the entire NFL. What an incredible honor. He is such a great person. And I know he has a deep love for Mississippi State, just like we all do.
John Cohen on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. John, thanks for your time today. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, Bo. You have a great one.
John Cohen on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. So we may have the schedule by late this week, and they'll be meeting a few times to work it all out, Commissioner Sankey and the crew. And the 8 that you already had on your schedule, Blake, you'll play those 8.
I was about to say, how about a little breaking news right there?
A little breaking news. Ole Miss in Florida and Mississippi State in Missouri, just to give you an idea. Now, I don't know if John and Keith Carter know exactly where those games may not necessarily be where you thought they were.
Yeah, may not be Florida in Oxford.
Right, and
Could
John
be vice
didn't
versa, yeah.
say that either. But the 8 that you have on your schedule
Still on the schedule.
are still on the schedule, and then you'll add 2 more.
Which it seems logical to assume that you would have to add 2 non-divisional opponents.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like you would add 2. Like, how would you make it fair to have Alabama play Arkansas twice and Ole Miss twice or State twice, and then LSU's got to play Alabama twice and Auburn twice?
Right.
I don't know how that would – I think you'd have – it seems almost forcibly has to be an Eastern opponent for State and Ole Miss.
And somebody's going to get
Somebody's going to get Georgia, Florida.
Man.
It seems like State wouldn't.
Ole Miss, Florida is, that was one that when I was sitting on the beach and the Ole Miss couple from Atlanta was talking to me, that was one of the games
They wanted
to know about, because we talk about this all the time. We don't get to play these teams enough. That's why we need to do away with the divisions.
Yeah.
And they were excited about playing Florida. They already had hotel rooms. They knew now that it's going to be on a different date. Yeah. But they were pumped about Gators Rebels at some point during the season.
Now
I think is cool.
The question is, who do you pull? Ole Miss already pulled the best possible in Vanderbilt. That's their given.
Okay.
So who else can Ole Miss pull? Who are those 2 teams? How important is it for reaching 5 wins, which we believe will probably be bowl eligibility at 5-5, I would assume, this year?
No, I was told that bowls will take 4 and 6 teams and 3 and 7 teams.
Goodness gracious.
No, but here's the deal. Look, man, they just want to make it. They employ people too, okay? And now with this modified schedule, if a team finishes 4 and 6 but has an opportunity, the Las Vegas Bowl that is added to the SEC mix, which was down, not in the first, 4
first
or 5.
2 to 3 tiers, yeah.
Hey, if Ole Miss goes 4 and 6 or Mississippi State goes 4 and 6 or 5 and 5, and let's just say it worked out that way, the Las Vegas Bowl would take them.
Interesting.
What a great way to, spend December 29th in Vegas watching your Ole Miss Rebels or Mississippi State Bulldogs play a Pac-12 team. Live in the Bank Plus studio, the Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent.